Hello and thanks for tuning in. There's a lot of talk out there at the moment about the best way to manage and improve employee performance. And it can be a little confusing and daunting for sure. In this video, we're going to share a simple technique that we simply refer to as the performance drumbeat. And in particular, we're going to focus on these 3 points. What is a performance drumbeat? Goal setting considerations, and an example using my employee life. So what is a performance drumbeat? Well, it's the simplest way we know to encourage performance without annoying people. Think of it as the minimum set of habits that a team should commit to in order to get things done. It includes a simple goal setting process and then a simple process for logging, sharing and comparing information on a set schedule in a clear and transparent way. Most importantly, it consists of these 3 things. Clarity, that expectations are set and known in advance. Consistency, activities and actions happen at a set schedule. And commitment, everyone involved agrees to commit to what is agreed to. The great thing about the performance drumbeat is that you can decide what's important to you, because every company is unique and therefore has the opportunity to create a performance drumbeat that best suits them. Don't worry so much about what's right or what's wrong, or what's good or what's bad. What's most important is that it's consistent with how the business wants to operate and the type of employees that it wants to attract and retain. For example, if there's a lot of detail in the drumbeat, then it may start to annoy people who don't really like micromanagement or don't like detail. So just keep that in mind. So what considerations are important when it comes to goal setting? Well, to us, it's about goal achievement and goal persistence. And in this regard, we like the work by Fox and Hoffman, who propose 4 mechanisms for goal persistence. Closing the distance between current and end state. In other words, quarterly goals or even monthly goals are much more likely to be achieved than yearly goals. Making sure that the steps to achieving a goal are clear and therefore they're perceived to be more feasible. There's a perception of value in the sense that the work is important and meaningful, and the goal has personal interest in that it supports what is important to the person. An effective goal setting process will keep these things in mind. If you haven't read up on what SMART goals are, S-M-A-R-T, then type that into Google and read all about that. And I'd also read up on Google's OKR process, Objectives and Key Results. There is a lot of influence in what you're about to see. The important thing to remember is that future goals should be clear and measurable. So here's an example of a common drumbeat, but remember you can alter as you see fit and how it might suit your company. Step 1. The company decides what's important to it. And this is usually done by the leadership team. Things like overall goals and objectives, values and behaviours that are important to team cohesion, attitude towards customers. All of these things must be agreed by the leadership group before proceeding. Step 2. Who needs to know what, by when? Think of this as what are the minimum set of daily, weekly, monthly and quarterly habits that everyone on the team should follow in order to make sure that things get done. And I'm talking about things like information, meetings, or anything else you think is important. These things should be agreed before proceeding any further. Step 3 is then about the exchange. So if you think about it, an employer and an employee have simply entered into an exchange called a job, and both parties come together in order to deliver their part of the exchange. In a goal-setting process, it's important that managers and team members come together to discuss what each needs to do to be successful and to achieve what's important to both of them at the same time. We encourage people to make a mental link between what achieving the goal at work means to their personal life. It's a very powerful motivator when someone knows that by achieving the goal at work, it allows them to do certain things that are also important to them. This might be work-related, but it might not actually be. It might also include discussions about development or learning, or other things that are important to both parties. This really becomes a genuine one-to-one conversation. A typical process is to set goals at the beginning of a quarter, and then everyone in the team updates each other, particularly their manager, about their progress by doing 2 things. Firstly, by indicating the level of goal progress on the goal progress indicator. And secondly, by creating and sharing a simple work log each week. The work log is simply a summary of what happened during the week in the context of the goals that are looking to be achieved, and then being shared so that each person knows exactly what's happening. There's also a chronological record of what's been happening from time to time, so that when review time comes, all the information is there. We encourage you to log into My Employer Life, test it out, and see how it works for you. Remember, what's most important is the leadership team is on the same page, and you may start the performance drumbeat just with the leadership team. At some point, when that drumbeat is working, you may choose to extend that out to other areas of the business. But just be mindful of the fact that if the leadership team aren't clear on what they need to do, no other team member will be either. If you've got any feedback, if you've got any suggestions, please remember to get in touch, and we hope you enjoy using My Employee Life.